Welcome to this very first webinar about how non-space companies can already use space technology without being space experts. My name is Lucia Fonseca de la Bella. I am the director and the founder of Orbital Bridge, which is a space consultancy connecting UK, Spain and Europe space ecosystems. And part of what we do is to focus on traditional industries looking at integrating space technology. So if you are a traditional industry or a non-space expert, this is the right webinar for you. This is going to be a very short session exploring how space technology is already supporting decisions across industries, often without organizations realizing it. So we will look at practical examples, very short, and why the main challenge is not technology but translation. And always when I'm speaking with the traditional sector and traditional industries, I like to pause and say, what do you think when you think about space? And most of you, the first thing that comes to mind is basically, well, rockets, astronauts, or billion-dollar missions, right? But most of the space technology that impacts our economy today never leaves Earth in that way. And I work with companies and entrepreneurs translating space capabilities into real-world applications. Let me just... there you go. So space is not a sector anymore. Space is an enabling layer. And with this, basically, most successful companies using space don't talk about it at all. And we still tend to think about space as an industry with companies, rockets, agencies, which partly is true, but today space behaves much more like an enabling layer, something that sits underneath many services we already use, right? It's just like cloud computing, artificial intelligence or GPS. It's often invisible, but once it's gone, everything breaks. And that's why space is no longer only relevant for space companies. That's why space is relevant for you as well. And why this matters now? Well, it matters now because we are living in a space economy era. We've gone through different stages in the development of the space sector and the impact on Earth. Well, at the beginning, it was just big agencies, governments, and the big decision makers shaping the space strategy. And it was true, it was just around astronauts and rockets and launches and billion-dollar missions. But that changed once the satellites started to become smaller, with the miniaturization of satellites and the lower cost of the launches, and more so nowadays with SpaceX and other emerging companies. So now there are lower barriers to access space, and space data is no longer exotic, right? We have trillions of data and from space shaping decisions of Earth-related problems, right? And basically, non-space industry is adopting the space technology, and this has given them a very competitive edge, right? And in this diagram, it's just an example of how this works. So you have the satellite data taken from satellites orbiting Earth, and basically this can help us with identifying vessels performing illegal fishing activities, saving lives during a major disaster, or creating secure communications, and so many more decisions that impact society and the economy on Earth. What does it look like in practice? And I'm just giving you these very short examples in these 3 areas, but there are so much more applications, and I'm very happy to have a chat with you individually if this resonates with you, if you want to learn more. Well, in practice, we have agriculture, we have environment, we have logistics and infrastructure, we have finance and insurance, and those are highly benefiting from space data and space technology. Agriculture and environment. This is a very clear one because in agriculture and environmental management, the challenge is often scale and visibility. It's true, the space-based monitoring doesn't replace the local knowledge, but it complements it by enabling earlier decisions before problems escalate, and that is very important in this sector. The second example is around logistics and infrastructure. Logistics reminds us that space is not about optimization for its own sake. It's about continuity. For logistics, for infrastructure, what matters is knowing where the assets are at any point, being able to track it, even when terrestrial networks disappear. And another example that it could sound very far-fetched from space, but it's not. It's actually not. Finance and insurance. In finance and insurance, space enables something very specific, which is independent data to make better informed decisions. Trading as well is very much benefited from space technology. Let me see. Right. So nowadays, the real challenge is not technology. You don't need to know everything about space engineering or space technology. The real challenge is understanding what space can do for you. Nowadays, access to space technology is not the limiting factor. We've seen that is in everyday activity and is not exotic anymore. We have access to it. The real challenge is translation. The real challenge is translating business problems into space-enabled solutions and translating space capabilities into actionable decisions, right? So there are different versions of it. You can imagine that you have on your table a space company and a energy company. If the space company starts talking about engineering and the fantastic piece of technology that they've developed, well, there's no communication, because the energy company, they want to know how, or what they want to do is to solve their problems. They don't care about how this is done. They just care that this is solved, right? And so if the engineering company explains to them, look, we can provide you with this data, and this data is going to help you solve or address this problem. That is the communication. That is the collaboration starting. And obviously translating space capability into actionable decisions. If you are an entrepreneur building your business, you need to understand enough space technology to make your strategic decisions, and that's a true. And basically, bottom line, the companies that succeed are really not the ones that know more about space, but they are the ones that are informed enough to ask better questions. Just to give you a few takeaways, space is no longer an isolated sector. We've seen that it is already impacting non-space industries, and technical expertise is not required to use it. The value lies in decisions, not in technology. The real challenge is strategic translation. And we're basically This is exactly the kind of thinking I work on through Orbital Bridge, and also in structured training programs developed with our collaborators, the Space Economy Academy, where we go deeper into how these decisions are made. So if this resonates with you, feel free to reach out to continue the conversations. You have my contact details here. Just drop me a line. I'm very happy to have a chat with you and guide you through the understanding of how space it can benefit your business and what space can do for you. Thank you very much.